All right, everyone. Another episode of Tempestage Talk here at Black Rosie Media. I am Erica L. Ayala, joined by Roberta F. Rodriguez, and we are going to break down what was an instant classic at Climate Pledge Arena. We are also going to preview a game that will be happening at CPA tomorrow, and then, of course, fielding your questions, your comments. So, thank you for joining us for another episode here. Before we get started, and I'll ask this question again as people start making their way into the live stream, but I just want to ask, Roberta, how many people watching the replay, because we will post this with timestamps. We do it as you can always go back to the live stream, but we also repost the show with timestamps. So this is probably going to be the first timestamp. How many people watching this show either have children or have been around children as an auntie, as an unk, or as someone who's worked around children in education? And there's a reason that I'm asking, but I just want to know how many of y'all are around children consistently or have been. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But first, we have our first quarter, Roberta. How are we feeling? How are we
Oh,
feeling after that epic overtime game? It was a Seattle Storm loss, so the streak continues. But is it feeling like 11 games after that last one?
it is okay. If I have to put the feeling in one word, I would say hype. That's
Mm.
how I am feeling, and that's what I felt that everyone was feeling. Not before, but during and after. At some point during, because the start of the game wasn't good. Um, so it's hype and a little bit of hope. I think that those are the things that stand out to how we're feeling, to how everyone who follows this team has been feeling. 11 game losing streak, you would expect that everyone would be upset. I was like, I really want to go to a post game presser with happy Storm players and not fully upset and frustrated players. So that is what we got this last game. The Storm players were not frustrated; they were happy and excited because even though it was a loss, there was so much that they gained from that game. But not only that, the confidence and a vision of the future. That was the main thing. They didn't play badly, they played well. They put up a fight against a good team in this league because the Dallas Wings they have been struggling some games lately, um, but they are a decent team. And you got Dominique Malonga just like almost
Wait, don't
hitting.
forget, don't forget to mention Awa Fam,
Oh
lest we
yeah, yeah,
forget.
yeah. No, no, no. You had Dominic Malonga, who people will understand that later, who had almost a 40 piece in that game, shooting 58%. That was just, it was so beautiful to watch Dominic Malonga and our fam. And I'm not saying that just because you said that. It was amazing to watch the high lows, to watch Dom rolling into the paint and our fam shooting from outside. The way that our shot from the 3 point line, she was hold on, she was 4 for 5 from the 3 point line. A six. I forget her height sometimes, but a 6'4" center who shot 4 or 5, 4 for 5 from the 3 point line, and you saw Natisha Hiedeman dishing 11 assists.
Love to see it.
Funny thing, I have a coworker who went to that game. My company has those ticket draws. They have a suite there, and my coworker was so lucky to get a free ticket for a Dallas Wings game in a suite with food. Like, I'm so jealous. Anyways, my point is, he's not a basketball person. He doesn't know anything about basketball. He's a soccer person. He understands about soccer. When we're talking about soccer, the person who scores the goal is usually not the player of the game. It's not always the player of the game. You have the middle fielder who is making the plays and setting up people and setting up the attacker to score the goal. So he texted me. First, he texted me saying, "Who is that wearing a hat in the bench?" And it was Jordan Horston. And I was like, "Who is that with the dress?" That's Azzi McBegor. He was like, "Are they part of the team or are they just hanging out there?" I was like, "You really know nothing about basketball." Anyways, he texted me and he also said that number 2 was the player of the game, talking about Natisha Hiedeman. And I was like, she was incredible, but she was not the player of the game. And in basketball, those are concepts that are so different, because I do see, I do think that Natisha Hiedeman was instrumental for that game. And I think that if she didn't have the floor vision, if she didn't follow the gameplay, which is to pass the ball to the centers, Dominique Malonga probably wouldn't have scored those. But she would have scored those. But Dominique Malonga was the player of the game. But it was just, I said all of that to point out how important Natisha Hiedeman was for that game and is for the Seattle Storm, to the point that someone who doesn't really understand basketball sees a 2-meter person scoring almost 40 points, and they say, no, the number 2, the short one, she was the player of the game. So that's how big Natisha Hiedeman is also being for
and
the
I
team.
think it goes back to what I said, right, about, I think we talked about it on Tempestage Talk, what is the point guard supposed to do? How do you measure the value of a point guard? And I do think that, I'm okay with someone saying Natisha Hiedeman was the best player on the squad, because the player who is getting everyone coordinated in a game like that, and people getting so hyped to watch that game, even though they end up losing in overtime. I do think that says something. And, her teammates had a lot of good things to say as well. So let's actually go to some of the post-game clips quickly. We'll break it into two sections here. First, we'll just hear, again, our first quarter is How Are We Feeling? And let's hear what Zaya Cook, Dominique Malonga, and Sonia Roman had to say.
Had great energy. We stayed together the whole entire game, so that felt good. And then also, this is just the best position we've been in a long time, to be able to fight to the end, go into overtime, come up a little short. But it was a great fight from everyone.
Proud of how they competed, their fight, their resilience, just kind of continue to make plays every time. The Wings made, another really tough shot. I thought we did a really good job of just kind of getting right back to the next play, playing fast, playing together, sharing the ball. Just a really good fight from our team today.
Issues you had identified in previous losses were sending the other team to the free throw line and getting out rebounded. Neither of those really an issue tonight. What worked to fix those, and would you identify anything else as sort of the differentiator tonight?
Yeah, I think it's just the daily emphasis on that and what we're doing in practice, and every time we get together and film, just continuing to emphasize those things, and the team continuing to work at it. And I thought we played really good team defense tonight. Credit to the Wings. I thought they made some really, really tough shots.
I want to stop there for a minute, because it goes back to our question of the day. I asked how many people either have children or work with children, right? And, we have Ariel here, Delaney saying, I have 2 kids, 4 and 9. Oh, love that. Love that. A proud auntie and coach YMCA girls rec. Okay, so then All right, let's remember that. Striatic, I have a kiddo. Yes. Tammy is an auntie. Love that. I used to work around children a lot and basically raised my 2 younger sisters. Why did I ask this question, you may say? Where is Erica going with this?
Where is Erica going?
Where is Erica going with this? So specifically, Ariel, Striatic, and Tammy, and anyone else who identifies as someone who has been a caregiver of children before, how many times have you told a child that you were responsible for to do something and they do it the first time?
I was a full-time babysitter for 5 to 6 years here in the US, and very strong-willed kid. So
is it common, I'll put it this way, is it common that when you tell a child, or really just a human, but we'll stick with children, is it common that when you tell them something one time, they get it? Whether it's that they're, are they maybe not listening because it's an attitude? Are they maybe not listening because they genuinely did not hear you? Are they maybe not listening because that's just what young brains do, young developing brains do? It is very seldom do you have a young person that on the first time out is going to do what you tell them to do the first time. It's very rare. And so again, y'all are probably like, Erica, where are you going with this? I used to be a child advocate. I worked in the nonprofit space, specifically advocating for children. So that's like creating policy. And so when we created policy, we would have to remind people that we were working with that you have to know your personnel. And if you're advocating for children, you have to know that discipline, you have to leave room for repetition. And why am I saying that? Because I don't think you get this game if you have a coach and if you have a team that isn't reinforcing what is needed. And we've been going back and forth about having this debate, right, Roberta, on this program. I saying there are certain things that you have to do as a basketball player. Other people saying it's the coach's fault. It's the coach's fault. It's the coach's fault. There has to be room to allow this young team to grow, to mature. And that means that for all intents and purposes, the parent of this family, Sonia, is going to have to repeat herself. She's going to have to remind you, did you pick up your clothes? Did you do your homework? Did you brush your teeth? Did you clean out your lunchbox? Because I don't want to have to go into your room again and find last week's lunch when I'm picking up the socks that you also didn't put in the laundry and in the hamper. That's what we've been experiencing, Roberta, and that's what I heard in what Sonia just said. What was the difference? Why were they miraculously rebounding? Why were they all of a sudden not blowing defensive assignments? Because they're starting to mature. The things that have been said over and over. And this is the wild thing, again, about being around children, is sometimes they genuinely know and still won't act.
Yeah.
And it's just how things work when you work with young people. It's just how it goes. And I think this game was like, and again, I used to work with children in like an education space. This game is like middle school to me. When you have a middle schooler, they get, it's so beautiful. They get to this point where they start, you can actually see that they're starting to think on their own. All of the things that they've been told, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I think I get it now. Okay, I get it, but now what about this? And so it's called Bloom's taxonomy. They're working through Bloom's taxonomy. They get and receive information. They're synthesizing it. They're analyzing it. And then they'll be able to create something on their own because they've worked through the paradigm. That's what this game felt like for me. It's like, oh my gosh, the light bulb went off. You had a middle school epiphany. It's really like the most beautiful thing. I'm not even fronting with y'all, to see a young person understand and grasp a concept for the first time. I mean, and I guess I have never had to potty train people or see someone walk for the first time. So I just said middle school because that's what I worked with. But I can imagine there's other points in development where you're like, oh my gosh, they freaking get it. Look how excited they are. I mean, sometimes it's emotional for the child, it's emotional for the adults around. This is what that game felt like to me, Roberta.
I agree with you, and all of those things that you said, especially the part when they go, "Oh my God!" So that's what happens. It it takes me back, and it ties all to something that Natisha Hiedeman said. That she said, when we click, you're going to know it. And I think that what we saw yesterday was that click. Now the thing is, we also know that with development, that development is not linear. You know,
Right.
so
Exactly.
it is possible that the Storm will face the Liberty tomorrow, which is a very tough team to face, and the
Yes.
Dream on Saturday. So that's top four team. I think it's Atlanta is in third, and the Liberty is in fourth. I think it's something
Yes.
like that.
Mhm.
So the Liberty, the Storm is now going to face two which are now contenders. I now consider the Dream a contender this season.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I thought they'd
um,
been so from the beginning.
and the Storm is still in the bottom of the standings. They got this really good game against the number 5 in the standings. From the number 5 to the number from the top 4 to the top 8, there's a big difference. There's a big jump in development. There's a big jump in quality, you know? So they had this experience against the Dallas Wings. What they have to do the same things, yes, but differently,
Mm.
because the Liberty plays differently from the Wings. They rely on different players from the Wings. You see, um, the the Wings gonna rely on their guards, Paige, Ariki, Az, and inside they're gonna rely on Jessica Shepard. But the Liberty, they're going to rely on Brianna Stewart, JJ. Those are their priorities, not their guards. And I'm talking to a Liberty specialist. So if I am saying something wrong, feel free
Oh
to
yeah.
take me off the screen.
Oh no. And listen, I had to take a Liberty fan out of the comments
Not
yesterday.
a Liberty.
It was really funny. And we're gonna get more into that game, but you're
Yes.
right. Because there is that, and that's also the tough and frustrating part for them and for the adults, right? And I'm
Yeah.
looking back in the comments because I was cooking with my analogy here, but y'all y'all were like, it's endlessly frustrating. The 10th time, do they even get it the 10th time? Phil just saying no. How about never? It takes time. And again, if we can concede and agree that this is a young Seattle team, then although they are adults, 20 and older, what we also know about leadership development and adult learning, specifically in team units, is that they go through this same development process. It's no coincidence that in sports, there are literally coaches called developmental coaches. Right? Because yes, we know basketball, bounce ball, shoot ball, put ball in net, right? That's basketball. That's it. That's it. And it's more complicated than that
Yeah.
because of what you said. Not everyone plays basketball the same way. And so now, how does this team move forward? And, Sonia prepared her team, she prepared the media for exactly what you said. That this is not linear, is what Roberta just said. This is still very much a process, or for those north of the US border, a process. A process for my Canadian friends and probably the state of Minnesota. It's a process. It is a process. So let's go back to Sonia, Sonia Rahman. I feel like I always interchange how I say her name. I just feel like it's it. I know I'm pretty sure it's pronounced ramen, but it just seems so simple. I like Rahman better.
I want
Like
to ask her
it's like saying
directly someday.
Tarjay, you know?
I want to ask her directly
Yes,
because
please do. Please do.
sometimes things like my experience when I worked with sports is that there was the proper way that the player would say their name, and then somehow they convinced that player with a difficult name that their name was said a certain way, and then the player would submit their name in the American way, and the excuse would be, oh, but that's what they say here.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So yes, please do just because I feel like I interchange it all the time. But either way, that's why sometimes I'm just like, let's hear from Sonia.
yeah, let's hear from
Let's hear
Coach.
from Sonia. Yeah, let's hear from Coach and a little bit more from Zaya and Dominique.
Just this team, our team, they just keep battling and they keep working on the things that they know they need to get better at. And, the last time we played this team, I think we might have had our all-time low in like number of passes in a game. And, tonight we had 28 assists. So it's a huge improvement.
I think it's just the effort, the energy we put in the game. We kept it high 40 minutes. We tend to get loose in the third quarter. We didn't this game. We were in the game the whole time. The energy was the same. As I said, we stayed together. Even when they went in a run, we didn't panic. We stayed together and we got them back. So I think it's just the whole attitude and the way we went into that game and the mindset. We just wanted to win today really, really bad. And I think you guys can see that. It's just like we had one thing in mind, just winning, and we just left everything that we had today.
They're so hungry. They're so competitive. Who knows like what happens tomorrow in terms of like what new amazing thing they do. Their willingness to try, which also means to fail, is what makes them special and what makes them get better every day. I thought, the team did.
We're going to stop there because next we're going to hear a lot from the team, Zaya, Sonia, and Dominique herself talking about Dominique Malonga. But you heard it there. Sonia talking about that she admires that her team is committed to the process, even knowing that that means that they will inevitably fail. And here we are. We're talking about them in a positive light, and they lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
They lost the game.
Yeah.
And so some wins or specifically some losses feel different. And I think that's what we want to get across. We absolutely had to. And I stand on what we've talked about.
Yeah.
There were some losses where we had to be critical of the players because they were not doing what we know they know to do and what they're capable of doing.
100%, and that also comes with growth. Phil made this comment. He said this person said that they are 47, but their 20s was all about learning. And one thing that you learn when you're, I'm 34, and I've been working for years, and I started this new job, and there's something that they call feedback, and that you have to learn how to take it. And the thing is that sometimes it's not going to be easy to hear they are doing something wrong when you think you're really good at it. And when I was taking my master's, we had a whole class on how to give and how to take feedback, because it's important. If you want to grow, first off, we have to understand that we don't know everything. I don't know everything about everything. And there are people who are better than me at what I do. And if they're not better, they've been doing this for much longer. So with players, it is with this Seattle Storm team, that is the situation. As media, there's a very fine line between, just wanting to belittle the team and being analytical. And when a team is doing really bad, which is what was happening with the Storm, especially the game before this one, I feel like they hit a big low. That's a very low. And this past game, it seems like they took the lessons from that other game, from what the coach was saying, from what media was asking them in the room, and they improved. And one of the things that showed that they clearly know what they have to do was the last play call on regulation, that it was tied and the ball went to Dom's hand in the paint. You didn't see a miracle shot from Zaya or Natisha. You didn't see a three-pointer from Katie Lou or Steph Dawson. We saw the ball go straight into Dominique Malonga's, and she didn't hit it, but that was what had to be done.
Right.
So it's a team that they're going to learn, and I think I was having a conversation with a fellow media member, and this person said before yesterday's pregame, before Monday's pregame, they told me that they weren't sure if Sonia was the right coach, but after something that she said in the pregame, they were like, no, she's definitely the coach for the team. And I had picked up that she is the coach for this team because first off, she is smart. She's a smart woman. And I've said that, and I'll say that again, not just, oh my God, you're so smart. It's like the smart person, the MIT smart person,
Yes.
so she understands that what this team is going to go through is not linear, and they're going to, it's
Yes.
the road that's going to be bumpy. So they had to take all of that. They had to have the hard games, and maybe finally they're like, okay, let's, maybe they did it out of spite. Okay, let's do what they're they're telling us to do, and it worked. So, but at the end of the day, you could see that they were proud. I think that's
Yes.
the main thing that I took from seeing Zaya and Dom in the presser. They seemed proud, and I really liked the way Zaya took things. She really took, the leadership of talking to us and hyping Dominic and Natisha Hiedeman and our farm. So you see that this team is proud. And I think that even if they didn't win, the energy in the arena, the energy from media, the energy from the team, it felt like a win. It really felt like a win because it showed growth. And that's what
Right.
the team needs.
And that's great. And more is needed, right? And so we're going to hear a little bit more again from Sonia. We're going to hear a little bit more from, as you mentioned, Zaya Cook and Dominique Malonga. But I thought this was funny from the Orthodox more. This was the D student getting a strong B plus after actually applying themselves. They see how they can play now and believe in their own potential. Consistency will be key going forward. I like what I saw. And Phil, listen, hey, maybe we do know more than you in some areas, and maybe we don't. But an intelligent person knows what they don't know, or at least when they find out what they don't know, is willing to admit it. So we'll learn together. Tammy, listen, I'm with you, Tammy, and I was ready to flip a table on Monday, but that's a conversation for another podcast. But Tammy's saying I would have flipped a table if anyone but Dom took that last shot. And it goes to something Striatic asked us in Slack. I forget the game now because I was traveling on that game day. But, Striatic had pointed out, why would you pass up a shot to then take a more difficult one? And you broke that down, Roberta, right? This is what the Seattle Storm were doing, and I think that's just your mind gets frantic, you get a little bit frantic, and you're not thinking as clearly as you can because you're feeling the pressure. Yes, and Orthodox Moore also saying, I know Dom killed it, but can I just say how impressed I was with Awa Pham, an
Yeah.
efficient assassin. I mean, absolutely efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have talked about Awa on the program before, despite what you might read on YouTube. That was such a weird comment. Like literally 33 seconds into that show, we talked about Awa, or I talked about Awa. But
And she
anyway,
really talked about her too.
yes. But anyway, I think that But you've been talking about this, right? The front court is not the issue. Even when they weren't completely healthy and Awa hadn't arrived yet, the front court wasn't the issue. I do think that we have to see what the backcourt has. I think, again, in our Slack community, we've been talking about how this roster is constructed is intriguing. Intriguing is probably giving too much credit. It's interesting. It's interesting. And also
An
just
enigma.
yeah, right. It's head scratching, eyebrow raising at times, because you know, you wonder what you're gonna get. You wonder what you're gonna get here, and how long is it gonna take, and are you going to get your front court and your back court timelines to align? And I do think that's a larger conversation that we have to have. But for now, Dominique Malonga, yes, was absolutely amazing. Also, Ariel saying Zaya was hooping. Impressed with her. Yes, her paint game reminds me. You get it, Striatic, because you've heard my Seattle sports podcasts before. Yes, this is the teenagers era of the Kraken. Arguably, they're still there. They are the 20-somethings that still live at home. But you know, that's we're not doing Kraken for right now. Yes, a lot of people loving Zaya's game. This is an interesting question. I'm gonna save this one for later, but I just want we'll get into that. Yeah, Orthodox saying interesting to say the least. And yes, Zaya was absolutely locked in. Listen, y'all already know how I feel about this.
If you have the number two pick,
You play the number 2 pick. And here's what I will say. I love that this comment came up, because I was ready to go off and be like, listen, y'all, I told y'all, I said what I said. And I do believe that still. And there's something in the clips upcoming that I find important. And I still stand on what I said, and I still believe in what I said, but I'm open to thinking slightly differently about it. Or as I sometimes say, I'm open to pivoting the frame a little bit on this particular conversation. But let's go back to, this is going to be Sonia and Zaya and Dominique speaking about what was another career and historic, league-wide historic game for Dominique Malonga.
Job today of like quickly mapping the floor, trying to find where the advantages might be, and then going to them. And obviously, at some point, started to see like you know, Dom's matchups emerge as something that we wanted to go to and go to her. And I thought the team did a really good job of finding her. You know, Natisha especially, but you know, everybody really trying to find her.
By being aggressive, I know I help my teammate. I get them open. I set good screen and just all that, just keeping like a high intensity and be aggressive the whole game. So I really need to keep that up and be consistent in that.
What was working offensively from the spacing perspective?
Finding Dom. I think, like, no, seriously. She was the best post player on the floor tonight, so we really wanted to make an emphasis to get her the ball. And then after that, like, making sure we kept the ball in her and T's hands, and then everybody else just playing a role around them. But also rebounding, like getting on the offensive rebounds, just trying to make it hard, getting downhill when we could, playing together. We caught a real good flow at a point.
Dom, you passed Asia Wilson as the youngest player to have more than 30 points and 10 rebounds in a game. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, Asia's amazing, so wow, that's crazy. But no, it's just I'm just glad because since I got back, I was like, it was hard for me to get back in my rhythm. I struggled with confidence a lot, and they never let me down. Like, that's really, like, my teammates, they just lift me up all the time. Like, when I miss 2 shots in a row, I don't want to shoot again, and they always, like, keep shooting. That's you. Like, you lead us. So it's just feeling that confidence and knowing that I can do performances like that. And that's for the team, literally. I just want to win. I just want to win games and win with these girls. Like, they're amazing. And so whenever I can come out and then do nights like that to help this team win, that's really what I want to do. It's not even
So I'm going to pause it there just because I forget exactly where I cut that clip. So we'll pause it here for now. But I found that was the piece, that last piece, Roberta, her talking about that being Dominique Malonga, talking about that confidence is something that she's still working on, and that she'll miss a shot or two and not want to shoot. And having teammates that tell her, we need you to shoot. Again, over on Mondays, we have this conversation. Now, JJ is not a teenager, and maybe she is someone that, just like staying a little closer to home, if we continue on with that analogy. But Jonquil Jones is a player that she benefits. I'll just put it this way. She benefits from when she knows what her role is and how much her team needs her. And I do think she doesn't necessarily use the same word confidence as much, but I think they're kind of the same thing. And so while I do think that when you have Dominique Malonga playing with Nneka Ogwumike, Gabby Williams, Skylar Diggins, let her make those mistakes when you have those veterans around her. Because if they're giving her the confidence, then she's unstoppable. So I did not understand this need to protect her to the extent that the Seattle Storm did. And where I am opening my mind and again pivoting the frame just a little bit is that we're starting to see, because of her confidence, Dom disclose what her thought process is and how she performs at her optimum. And so I did find it overprotective, like a helicopter parent, if you will. I didn't think they needed to go to the extent that they did last year, because and we'll hear the rest in a little bit, including a question that you asked, Roberta. She almost scored 40 points. Why would you need to protect someone that in their second season in an overtime thriller can almost drop 40 points for you? What is the reason? What is the reason?
That's the thing. What is the reason? And I mean, the past 2 seasons for the Seattle Storm has been a whole, what was the reason? It makes me think of Cardi B's, what was the reason?
Exactly.
What was the reason? That's that was this past 2 seasons. For me, it started with, why did you not core Breanna Stewart? What was the reason? You cored Jewel Lloyd and you did not core Breanna Stewart because you were so sure a player who is probably the second best of this generation, only because Asia Wilson exists. Like, for me, that's where it all started. What was the reason? The only thing I can think is that they either were okay with Breanna Stewart leaving, but I also know that they were sure Breanna Stewart was going to stay. For me, it starts there. And then you look at everything after that. You say they're building a team to win now, and that you want to develop Azzi Fudd. Why do you bring a veteran big in Nneka Ogwumike, and then you select probably the top front court talent of this generation? So it's a lot of it didn't make sense. And we saw the things that were happening behind the doors, overflow, everything was thrown. I think the sentence that I'm thinking is like, shit hit the fan. That's and that's the thing. And then Dominique Malonga was thrown in the middle of this mess because the Storm also wanted to draft a guard, but the guard decided not to declare for that draft. And then the Storm was like, I mean, literally, if the Storm didn't draft Dominique Malonga, it would probably be malpractice. Like, if you have Dominique Malonga available at 2, you draft her. but also they had made the whole trade with Jewel to the Aces, Kelsey Plum to the Sparks, and then they got the number 2 pick because they wanted to pick the probably rookie of the year of this year, Olivia Miles, but she was not available. So there's like a lot that was going on in that front office, and they were my the way I see it, they were forced to a rebuild. I don't think they wanted to go to a rebuild. I think they
mean,
wanted to, and I have to say, they had the money and there were players available out there. But also, the players want to come to Seattle. Were they a destination? Because, and again, their highest paid player, I think, Azzi is a 5-year veteran, 5 or 6 year veteran.
mhm.
That's their highest paid player. They could have put that money into a more veteran player. So they were they were forced to rebuild because they were, I think, out of options. And I think
Yeah.
that they were lucky that they got Dominique Malonga and Awafam, and it does concern me with what's going to happen to Azzi, because now we're seeing
I've
now,
been saying this for years. For
yeah,
years.
because now we're seeing, and this last game for me was so clear. Dominique Malonga is a paint player, and Awafam is an amazing stretcher. So you have them like that. What's going to be of Azzi? Are they going to force her to the number 3 role? Is she going to be a bench player? Regardless, the Storm may have 2 of the top front court players of this generation, but they did mess up with Azzi. And I think that they messed up with Azzi big time.
Okay, wait, because I promise we had this conversation before the draft. And then again
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the draft. And people were like, don't disrespect Izzy. I was like, I wish I could adequately describe how much I love and adore Ezzy as a human and how much I believe in her potential as a basketball player. Love that child down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So kind. Anytime she speaks, she remembers people's names. I know these are like, you're all like, what are you talking about? These things matter. Okay. We talk to athletes all the time, and the
Yep.
ones that are polite and that will use your name when you speak to them, I can count on one hand. And I
Yeah.
won't name names. And it's not like it's not rude per se. It's just that when people do that, you notice it because it rarely happens. Anyway, I love Ezzy. And what did I say after last season in the exit interviews? I was like, Ezzy, please explore free agency.
Yep.
I want that for you. I want that for you. I want you to go to a place where you, when it comes to the rotation and when it comes to the coaching staff, you will be a priority, or at least at minimum, will have a clear direction and path on where you stand and what your development is. That has never happened in Seattle.
Looking at Briz, I was like, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you because, like, I do. I think that we.
This one.
I think that there is a big problem, and we have talked about how we think that Talisa did not manage this past off seasons very well. The free agents that it was clear this off season, Noel Quinn was gone. Neko Gumake, Skylar Diggins were gone. Gabby said
wait. Let me do it. Out the window.
Imagine if they played on the same team. Out the window.
That's a Stud Buds classic for those who maybe don't know.
The little crush I had on you. It's there are so many stud buds.
Oh my
If I can have
gosh.
a parenthesis here, there is like,
No.
y'all didn't beat the sky. They asked that to Dijonay when Dijonay was playing in the sun, and this year, the sky didn't beat the sun, and the sun is the thing to beat. So I wonder
If
if they're
I
gonna.
could smash this more, I
Yeah.
would.
That's the big thing for me. I think I'm just trying not to seem like I'm piling on Talisa because I see those people every game.
It's just painfully obvious. It's painfully obvious. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And what do we also talk about? I was like, not Seattle making me feel some kind of way during the draft just for me to know. I literally went on CBS Sports on the We Need to Talk Now podcast and was like, is it possible for someone to win the draft while also bombing free agency? Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
there is. And her name is the Seattle Storm.
Yeah. And the thing is that, and I've said that after the draft, I feel that after the draft, the Storm was able to just like gaslight everyone into dreamland because it is amazing that you traded
Can we
the
go back to
13th pick.
let's go back to the first quarter. How are we feeling? Because I was feeling great when we started, and now I'm messing up my curls. These are fresh curls, and I keep running my fingers through my fresh curls. That's how frustrated I am when it comes to this part of the conversation.
Yeah, and there has been so much surrounding all that. I will be honest, like I don't know what's
You say
happening.
this all the time.
So like the thing, and again, we saw players doing great things yesterday. I've always been very protective of Katie Lou Samuelson, and Erica knows that. But last game,
I'm gonna go away.
I
don't look at me during this conversation. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be seen.
Last game, I was like, she's not defending. She's not being able to make plays. Her role is to shoot. She's not shooting. Like, I feel bad because she got injured, but Jordan Horston was also injured, and she at least defends. When you look at Jordan Horston's stat sheets, she might not have the points. She always has rebounds, blocks, assists. She's always contributing somehow. But I felt like Katie Lou was not reliable yesterday. Oof. Yeah, here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. AC was brought into the team. Katie Lou Samuelson got an extension offered
after being a trade piece.
Yeah. So I think that, and they were showing Dominic on the TV here. And it's just like, and I think that's where it goes to putting the pieces together. Like, I don't know. First, I don't know how much of a role Katie Lou has on this team because they clearly want to play Jordan Horston more. Jordan Horston and Katie Lou play the same position, and Jordan.
Do they? Okay, maybe they play the same position, but they do not play the same role.
No. But they I feel like, so that's the thing. I feel like the goals that the team have for them they want them to do similar things. That's kind of how I feel about it, but maybe I'm wrong. And it's just that like they want Katie Lou to also defend, and
don't look at me.
I think the big difference is that Jordan Horston is not supposed to be a scorer. I don't think they really mean for Jordan Horston to be a shooter, but I think that that's what they wanted for Katie Lou. They want her to, because that's what she did at UConn. That's what she did on the past team. So that was not, and she's not performing. And even coming off an injury, you shouldn't be performing that bad. That's kind of where the issue is.
But like, okay, I never believed in putting all your eggs in the Katie Lou Samuelson basket. Y'all know, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Y'all know how I felt about Lexi. And here's we've talked about this in Slack. The most surprising thing about waiving Lexi Brown was the fact that she was still on the roster to begin this season. I'm sorry, I said it.
And you can say it because now she's out. Yeah.
What is happening? What is happening?
Yeah, I feel like Breeze is trying to get me to say something.
The WNBA version of the producers. Like, if you know, you know, bomb and make money. Is that what's happening? Because I can't take it. I can't take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You know what? It's giving New York Metropolitans. For those who know baseball, or for those who don't specifically, just indulge. Oh, dang. Caitlin Chen got a tooth knocked out?
Oh my God.
Sure, she's bleeding.
Oh, okay. It's bleeding. It's not shit.
Oh, okay. I was
Jade.
like, did she go Jade Melvin?
She didn't go
okay, I got distracted. The New York Metropolitans are so good at one specific thing.
Wait, are those the Mets?
Talent, the Mets, yes.
Okay.
The New York Metropolitans are good. They're so good, painfully good. Well, technically, I would argue two things. But the one of them is getting players too early, right? Like getting a talent that's about to peak, but they cut them off or can't keep them right before they surge, or bringing on talent too late in their career. They're so good at that. There are so many like Hall of Fame players that have played for the Mets and did not win anything because the Mets got them too early and then didn't pay to keep them, or got them way too late to try and sell tickets when it wasn't like there's no reason. What is the reason? What is the reason? And I like, why do I pick? Why am I gravitated towards these teams? Like, what did I do in a former life to pick this over and over and over again?
Yeah, and we've talked about that in terms of how the Storm likes to
y'all are hilarious.
I know. Breeze is trying to get me to say things like, I'm not going to say any of that. Breeze, you love me.
I'll listen. I'll say it this way.
Breeze. I wonder if it's Breeze for the because they mentioned Noelle Quinn, and they definitely don't like Talisa. I wonder if it's a Breeze from Unrivaled fan.
Maybe. Let us know in the comments. I will say this: we have questioned the decision making, and as the Lexi Brown commercial plays on my screen right now. We have questioned the decision making. What I've also said, and Striatic can vouch for me, because I said this on the Seattle Kraken podcast I used to host. When you have a team that is going through some of the things that we've described here, it's very common in sports for the GM to make a move before a move is made on them. Now, you can take that however you want. I'm just letting you know, as an analyst, what happens in sports. And it's a lot of time. So now we've seen a coaching change that usually, broadly speaking, gives a GM a little bit more time. Now, I'll tell you what happens in the MNHL in men's hockey, or at least it did in Seattle. The GM that had to hire multiple head coaches got promoted to president. We don't do that in women's sports.
Here's the thing, and that's the point I was going. I almost forgot about it, and I wanted to make. It always goes back to the Seattle Storm is one of the most Seattle franchises that I have seen. And Seattle is a spineless city. That's what I'm going to say.
That's Los Mets, Tammy. That's what I'm talking about.
So there is this thing about Seattleites that they don't say things on your face. They don't want to make you upset, but they they want to be perceived as nice, right?
Here comes
So
Jeff. Here comes Jeff. Nobody
see,
boxes
this
out,
one
and
person
that's the
is,
coaching staff
we
problem.
have someone trashing the GM, someone trashing the coach. We made it, fam.
There we go. We made it. We made it.
So the
Come on.
Seattle Storm is a
I will
very
never agree that a team not boxing out is the coach's problem. Like, I will never agree. You could say it as many times as you want, Jeff, and every time I will be like, I know you believe that. I know you
yeah.
believe that. That
Yeah.
don't mean I have to, you putting it down. I ain't gotta pick it up. And I won't. And I won't.
Yeah. So I do want to like the Seattle Storm does have a history with a certain type of player, the type of player that they like, and
Phil, wait a minute.
the one they want someone. I feel like they want people that they're gonna be yes to them. It is, and as a
The new
Latina
Black
and
Rosie
someone,
media lineup.
yeah, and that we should make a shirt of that.
Seattle is spineless. Happy Pride.
Because Seattle had its glory years with Sue Bird, who was a very very calm and demeanor, player. You wouldn't see Sue Bird like, when you put Skylar Diggins and Sue Bird next to each other, very different, and Skylar Diggins lasted 2 seasons in Seattle. So it's there's a certain type of player that usually stays longer here. And again, when you see the contract that they gave Azzi, it's like, it's not about Azzi, but that's not a supermax player, but they wanted to reward her for her
Right. And we talked
loyalty
about
and
that. And we
here.
talked about that. It was a choice. I didn't agree with it because for me, Azzi needed to explore free agency a little bit deeper.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there is a huge problem with how the GM runs things. That's not something I'm not going to be trashing Talisa here, but I do think that she has made some very questionable decisions these past seasons. And this
Okay,
season.
hold on. I really want to go here. So, Jeff, you played ball all your life, college ball, semi-pro ball, power forward, and rebounder. I speak from experience. So every time you played professionally and you missed a rebound, you blamed your coach? Is that what you're admitting to? Like, I'm really asking. Because that's wild. That's giving number 22 Indiana Fever behavior to me. I mean, I guess if you can get away with it, go ahead and do it. But like, it's almost like, oh man, it's my mom's fault that at 24 years old my shoes aren't tied. What? What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Hello, Eagles brother.
Ooh, this is actually a good question. Can you retain salary in the WNBA with trades? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
It's pretty cut and dry. This is actually a great question because again, I cover other sports, specifically on the men's side, and retaining salary is just not I will say it this way, Striatic. I have never come across that in the WNBA. I have read the CBA, including the new one, a few times. Well, actually, I've skimmed the new one. I haven't read it full through, cover to cover, so to speak. Let me be honest. But the last one I read through, this one I've skimmed through, and I don't recall that ever coming up on my radar. So now you when you don't know something, it's okay to admit it. I'm gonna come back to this. My gut is to say no, and I will say right now, I am not 100% sure. I have never come across that though, Roberta. so for those not familiar, and Striatic or someone else, help me if I'm not explaining it correctly, because I actually do cover sports where we don't really talk about retaining salary, but I also cover specifically for me the NHL, or have covered the NHL where you can retain salary. So sometimes when you trade someone in specifically men's leagues, you can trade a person and then you work it out, and it's in the collective bargaining agreement, I believe, in some leagues, where at a certain like veteran status specifically, any trade, or you can work it on a trade where a team has to continue paying out a portion of the contract even after they leave a team. So that's really interesting. Because, and then Striatic is asking, so how tough would it be to trade Ezzy Magbagor?
Yeah, it's interesting because when Toronto signed Tommy Fabengay
Fagbenle?
Fagbenle,
Mm-hmm.
there was that talk of Ezzy potentially being traded to Toronto. So I thought that this would be kind of a good trade option because they can,
Why?
they can play. They
Why? You never ever in your life. 100%. Okay. 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 Okay.
yeah. So I thought that with Tammy's salary and with Ezzy's salary, there will be some parity, and also with them kind of being similar. So I thought that this is something that could happen, but now you have Ezzy with a really big salary, and the players around the league who are on Supermax are not players that other teams would want to, like with the Aces, the player who has a super max is Jackie Young, and you're not gonna trade Jackie Young for Azzi Magbagor or. So I think that it's a very interesting situation because it can be attractive for other teams, but also it's just I worry about her development, and that's I feel like once she's back, that's going to be Sonia's biggest challenge.
Yeah, and we have so many things to get into, but I do think since we're talking about Ezzy, I just want to pitch this to you. Michelle Allen's asking, do you think Ezzy will play after All Star, or is it something like what the Orthodox Moore and other people have alluded to? That is this just they're kind of waiting till she gets healthy to maybe make a trade? I don't know. I don't get a good read. Well, you did tell us in Slack, right, that we finally, because we went off about this on the last episode, but we finally did get some type of update on Ezzy. Why don't we start there, and then you
Yeah.
can answer this question if you want.
Oh, I thought we were gonna play a video. No, so
No, sir.
during it was finally a more it was a better answer, but it's still very open,
Vague. Yeah.
very vague. So Coach Sonia said that Azzi is progressing well. She's back to 5v5 activity, and she will be back in the next weeks, which is the open-ended part. So we don't really know what the exact timeline is, but at least there is a in the next weeks, which I don't know what is the cutoff for next week's. It's not a couple. They didn't say a couple weeks. They didn't say in some weeks. They said they said a few weeks. It was nothing specific. It leaves room for interpretation.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Not let's trade our stale popcorn at the stadium instead for Chicago style popcorn. That's probably the only thing you'd want to trade. You'd want in a trade with Chicago at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly, I always wanted Camila to play in Seattle, but now like there isn't even room for her because where there's going to be another Azzy situation. Like you already
oh
have
man.
Dom and Awa. You don't need another big.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's see. Okay, let's get into, because we've done a lot of questions and comments. Let's get into what the Storm are gonna see tomorrow. Now, when we were getting and prepping for what we knew this game was going to be, at the time, both of these teams were desperate for a win in very different situations. And this is why I say what I've said this before, what is tolerated or what is understandable in Seattle, not the same in New York, and vice versa. It's just not.
No, it's not.
The New York Liberty blew 2 games and missed out on an opportunity to have an 11-game winning streak, and that's disappointing. The Seattle Storm are on an 11-game losing streak, and their last game was room for optimism. So all of this to say, these 2 teams are not the same, and that's not a bad thing. It's just reality.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have them butting heads. New York Liberty did get the win against the Aces, but one of their next games is going to be the Aces again in the Commissioner's Cup. And so I think there's a different level of pressure and expectation for Seattle versus New York. That being said, Roberta, even though I do host Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans on Monday with Brian Florentin, I'm going to say on this episode of Tempestade Talk, a local eye on the Seattle Storm, this could be an opportunity for the Seattle Storm because it might be what we sometimes call a trap game for the New York Liberty.
I agree with you. I do see it that way because, of course, we're all going to expect the Liberty to beat the Aces. But I feel that the Liberty is one of those teams that loses to themselves most of the time. And I think that Erika is much more attuned with the Liberty, but they have all of the tools that they need to be WNBA champions. And they are just, anyways, I do think that the funny thing is that regardless the Liberty being the Liberty, I do think there's a slight chance of a Storm win. It's not like, I'm not like, oh, the Storm could never beat the Liberty. I think not because of the Storm, but because of the Liberty, the Storm could beat the Liberty because the Liberty is their biggest, they are their biggest opponents. That's like, you know,
That's
you're
fair.
your own enemy. I think that's the case with with that. And I think that the Storm are hungry. I think that they are very hungry. It's going to be a little disheartening to end this month without wins, you know, because we know that the winning prediction. I mean, none of us can say that it's going to be. The Storm may win. The Storm can win, but if you want a not vague statement, the Storm won't win. The Storm
The
won't be
probability of them
the
winning, not high.
probability. Yeah, not high. So
It's possible, but not
it's
probable.
possible. I don't think anyone would say that the Storm would beat the Liberty and the Dream, especially since I think that what we can consider are the outlier points. You know, I think this is something that can play a role for a possible Storm win. So there is an opportunity. There really is an opportunity. I don't think it's there is hope, especially after that game. And Eric and I talked about this last year a lot. One thing that really stood out to me the most was how Dominique Malonga, in her low minutes, in her low court minutes, how she was able to stop Nafisa Collier, Asia Wilson, and Brianna Stewart. Those players, they had to take extra steps. They had to rethink their shots when Dominique Malonga was defending them. Now we're talking about a Malonga who is in her second year, who is working on her confidence and is a starter. That can cause a lot of trouble for Brianna Stewart and Jonquel Jones, who are more in the paint for the Storm. So if it's going to, first off, the Liberty is going to have to double, triple, quadruple on Dominique Malonga. They are going to go very hard. They're going to have to go very hard on her. They're going to have uh, to neutralize Malonga. Okay, they neutralize Malonga, and now you have our Fam, because our Fam can shoot, and we saw that last game. So they have our Fam, and they have Natisha Hiedeman, who has been shooting for the team too. So the threat now is a little. If you were asking me 2 weeks ago if I thought the Storm had a chance against the Liberty, no way. Even if the Liberty were, in there, were not doing well. Today, I think they do have a chance against the Liberty. A small chance, a slight chance.
I like
a chance nonetheless.
I like what you're talking about. I don't agree with you that they need to put all of that attention on Dom, specifically because the Liberty have a defensive identity that they're trying to execute, which is to face guard and you handle your defensive assignment. When they get into switching or over coverage, that's been a downside. The thing that I find interesting is, especially with Satu Sabali out, and let me actually, I'm almost positive that she is out, not like questionable. Oh no, she is questionable. Okay, sorry. She got hit in the head, which we hate to see, especially with her concussion history. I honestly thought that was a terrible no call. She got absolutely mauled in the face, and then had to miss the game. She's listed as questionable. If Satu is in the game, it's I think even more of an uphill climb for Seattle. Without Satu, it's going to be interesting to see how the New York Liberty handles defensive assignments, and maybe what we see is them go to a zone and try to do a high trap. I think you might have to prepare for that, and that's going to be interesting because then if I'm Seattle and that's happening, then what you might have to do is have Dom bring the ball or Awa bring the ball to break the trap. And it's not necessarily anything against Natisha Hiedeman, but New York is so long.
Yeah.
The wingspan is redonkulous. 1 through 5 for all rotations on that team. And that's what I think we're going to see. I was like, hello.
Is that a dog?
Yeah, that's what I think we're going to see. I think the defensive matchups will be more difficult for the New York Liberty without Satu against this Seattle team. That being said, there's another thing then that Seattle has to do, and they have to make their shots. That hasn't always been the case. They have games where they're great at making shots, and they have games where they're not great at making shots. Jonquel Jones defending the paint is really good. And I do think that both Awa and Dom have better footwork than JJ and can potentially expose JJ. And if I'm Seattle, what I'm going to do is try to attack her early, get her frustrated, and or get her into foul trouble.
Yeah.
That's what I would do, which is why I think, I don't know if it will be the whole game, but I think there will be times where you see the New York Liberty go into a zone, especially knowing that the Seattle Storm, I think you take your chances letting them shoot from the perimeter. It's not that they can't do that, but they have not been consistent. Yeah. That's my best guess on the chess match that could be tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a very interesting one. Again, if the Storm is able to continue executing what they did last game. I think it all comes down to that. If the Storm, now the big problem is, and this is a big problem, the Storm did not start well against the Wings. The Wings did open a 13-point lead.
Yep.
The Storm was able to put a 14-0 run, come back, and get back to the game. This is not a privilege that you get with the New York Liberty. And I think that's where the big problem is. They're going to have to the same way that games were being pierced into each other negatively, they're going to have to stitch the ending, the second quarter on of that last game to this one, because if they start the same way they started against the Wings, it's going to be bad. And one thing that we have that I have noticed against the Storm is that they get frustrated, and Dom really said it herself. They and when they get frustrated, they can't execute. They get very I know I don't want it to sound like I'm saying it because they're women, but like the emotions really I don't know, the
Yeah, they get in
frustration.
their head. Yeah, they get in their head.
Yes, that's it. So I think that's going to be the big thing. They're going to have to start
Damn.
very well against the Liberty. Otherwise, that's not one of the teams that you come back from.
And here's the interesting thing. They can, as in the New York Liberty, can start pretty strong, but they also blew a 17-point lead in Los Angeles.
But the Los Angeles, the Sparks also had Nekogumake. I think that's a different point.
That is
different
true.
case.
I'm just saying, the New York Liberty don't always close well. I thought they did against the Aces. So again, you have both of these teams very different trajectories, but the path that they're on a broad strokes level is similar. What is the real identity of this team when they execute to their highest potential?
Yeah.
When they play a complete 40. And I think both teams are coming into tomorrow's game playing pretty solid game. Not perfect. And honestly, no game is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Despite maybe what Jeff says, because apparently Jeff had great rebounding all of his career.
Only
That's
he and
amazing.
injuries.
Even the me-bound queen. I'm just saying. So Jeff is better than Angel Reese. It's amazing. Better than Sylvia Fowles. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Better than Draymond Green. Couldn't touch Dennis Rodman. Clearly. Clearly. So, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure for tomorrow for both of these teams. Can you reach Jeff level of rebounding? I mean, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone has ever done that.
That's going to be a good one, and I'm excited for it because when we saw the Storm against the Aces, the Aces opened a big lead, and even though the Storm was able to lower the lead, sorry, it's so hot in here. I'm starting to lose it. So, anyways, the Storm was unable to come back from a big deficit against the Aces. And that's the big difference when you play top four teams. That's going back to what I said in the beginning. When you're playing the top four, it's different from when you're playing the top eight. It's a very different type of. It's a very different beast, and they're gonna have to be consistent.
And I like what the Orthodox Moore is saying here. Zaya Cook getting downhill, I think, is another advantage. You can take advantage. Sabrina's back in the lineup. She had a double-double last night.
Yeah.
And she's still coming back from injury. So if this is someone that you can get into foul trouble, Maureen Johannes is someone also that kind of gets her hand caught in the cookie jar. So that can be tough. Eagles, brother, listen, why you got to do this to me? I don't want to relive those. I don't want to relive those games. I don't want to do it. The real answer, though, is if you look at what is considered clutch time, so the last 5 minutes of the game, Portland is extremely good. And we've talked about this on this podcast when it was the rivalry series, which will always remind me of hockey. But anyway, it's now Portland, Seattle, apparently, in the WNBA. But in the rivalry series, part one, Portland, one of the best at the time. Seattle, one of the, if not the worst. I think it was 5-1 at the
Yeah.
time for Portland, 1-4 at the time for Seattle. Portland is extremely good at closing games and they make up for whatever they weren't doing earlier. And if a team like the New York Liberty, who has a propensity, they have a bad habit of, as Jonquel Jones said, kind of lulling themselves to sleep if the scout that they were preparing for isn't executed for the first 3 quarters, they're like, oh, we got this. And they lose sight of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're the hare that falls asleep because they think the tortoise is too slow. That's kind of how Portland beat them. That's how they lost to Washington. That's how they lost to LA. So there you go. The bad news for Seattle is they're not good at that.
Yep.
They're not good. So they might not want to follow Portland's blueprint because that's not their strong suit. But they can aspire. They can aspire to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, and I know some of it was probably a little bit of a joke, but also they're just not. They're not here. We're happy you're here as well, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I see a comment from our rebounds king Jeff about Stephanie Dawson.
I saw Dawson. Okay, I'll let you go first about Dawson.
And I forgot that she's making $750,000.
Yeah. Listen, I think that's a high price tag, and if you're gonna play a pick and roll and you have Stephanie Dawson on your team, I like your chances. She's amazing at setting screens.
Yes.
She's phenomenal at setting screens. But you know what the problem is? Who's she setting the screens for? I mean, she can set that thing for Dom.
It's like, it's complicated. I do like Steph as a player, but she's just not producing this season. And
she's not.
And again, I feel like the Storm, Talisa went by potential. You know, the potential you can get from Steph Dawson, the potential
Promissory notes.
The potential you can get from Katie Lou Samuelson, and that's.
Do not perceive me. Do not look at me. I just can't fix my face. There's no way I can fix my face because listen, Linda, listen. I am going to try and be as respectful as I can be. All of sports is about managing potential versus reality, right?
Yeah, that's a stats, and
some bets are more risky than others.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the Seattle Storm is like that junkie uncle that's like super charming, super smart, super good looking in the movie, and they can never get their life together. And you're just like, bro,
that's so
could you just look at yourself? Please.
Yeah.
Please tell me how you keep making the worst bets when you have all of these other things that you could do and be more than fine.
It's not leveled, I think so. And I think it has to do, okay, see, I'm pushing my what I'm using for this and getting in position here. I think it all comes down to, again, roster construction. It's so sweet. It comes down to roster construction and expectations. What Stephanie Dawson did, I've always.
But am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Are you gonna look at me? Are you gonna look at me and tell me that I'm wrong? You know that
nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Well, maybe you do. I don't know.
She's the wicked witch of the East, bro. Are you gonna look at me and tell me that I'm wrong? Anyways, I like Steph Dolson. I like her play. I think she's a good player. But what she can bring to a team is not leveled with what those Storm wants for them and their future. I think that's what it is. And their rosters just have not made sense at all. I've had there are two fans on, one of them right on me, and yes, because it's the heat wave here, so my throat. Anyways, these past 3 seasons, the Storm roster construction has been like a roller coaster, or just like, oh, you know that meme that the horse drawing starts very beautifully and then it ends with just like a sketch.
And then
I
it's
feel
like,
like,
nailed it.
yeah, and there is I feel like that's what the Storm roster has been. The Storm roster construction has been this past seasons,
Not the emoji.
because you get, so we know what they want with Azzi, Awa, and now I think it's very clear with Natisha. But you and then you saw them saying what they wanted from Steph, Jordan, Katie Lou, Mac. We're seeing also Zaya work, and then like it's just their plan for this group of 4 players is working really well. Their plan for the rest of the team does not match the expectation that the team put on them. And for me, again, I don't think it's necessarily the players. I think it is what the team is setting them up to do. And I'll be honest, I don't think Steph Dolson is being put in the position that she has to be put as, you want those. I know that I think Steph Dolson is one of the most charismatic players out there, and she played so well for the Mystics. But you don't want to bring someone just to be charismatic, right? You want to win games and develop. So I think
I will be honest, having Steph on this team alongside Dominique Malonga and Awafam and Ezzy, sure. Because Steph Dolson has played a reserve role for a while in the W. That's facts. So if the team still wanted to have Dominique, and we heard from Dom saying that confidence, she needs to get that confidence, that reassurance. Steph Dolson is someone that can provide that, be positive.
100%.
And if anything goes wrong with Ezzy or Dom or Awa, can step in and play starting minutes if needed. So it's like a safety valve on multiple fronts. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that for this team right now. But just a reminder that Stephanie Dolson was on the New York Liberty before they got Brianna Stewart, before they brought over Jonquel Jones, before they got also Kayla Thornton, and all of that change. So but the Seattle Storm are not there yet. Will they ever be? That's the question that we're still trying to figure out. But that's kind of where we're at. Okay, I want to start closing us out here. So let's go to the 4th quarter. I started some questions / comments, and then we'll see if any other come in. But let's go with this one. Do y'all see any scenario where Sonia doesn't see year 2?
I don't.
For me, it's no.
No, I think she stays. I think that she again, I don't think coaching is the problem.
I would agree. And the only way I could see that is if it's what I've suggested has been happening, which happens in sports. It's not like it happens in sports. If the front office feels that they might be susceptible to changes, then they might try to make another coaching change. And that happens. And don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on how that happens overwhelmingly with women head coaches, but we still have mediocre men coaching in Chicago, for example.
My God, every time I watch a Sky
And
game,
by mediocre, I just want to be clear because y'all can clip that if you want to, but make sure you provide the full context. Let's not act like the record for Tyler Marsh has not been mediocre at best. At best. Has a worse record than Teresa Weatherspoon's first season and still got a job.
and he has a team. He has a team. That's the thing. I think that's the biggest issue. He has.
Where's Moni? Where's Moni when we need her?
I know. Like he has a team. Listen, as a Brazilian, there are so many Chicago Sky fans that I talk to, and they all just can't believe that he's there yet. No one can
It's
believe.
wild. So anyway, but this is not a podcast for Seattle Sky. What? Maybe. Who knows? The Seattle Sky. We've compared them before, especially in Slack. And I know Modi doesn't like it, but also, am I wrong? I don't know. The Seattle Sky, the Chicago Storm. Chicago is a storm. It's a category 12. We're not even at 4. It's a category infinity. It's a category we're always like this. Anyone think Dom could have a 40 piece? Yeah.
Sure, I think she could.
Why not? Go off, Queen.
Oh yeah, the dunk. She can. I think she's gonna dunk this season.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'd be happy to see it tomorrow.
I think she's dunking. Well, no, you know what would be funny if she dunked against the Tempo, because the player that she dunked over and unrivaled was Marina Mabrey. And then it will be funny if it was the same thing here in Toronto. In the W. Nothing against Marina, okay? I love her as a player, but it was just be a funny story.
Yeah, that's interesting. Comedy is just tragedy plus time, and the Storm lost an OT like a whole 48 hours ago.
The best stand-up comedians say that trauma makes the best jokes. So
there you go.
There you go.
Orthodox Moore, you are us. Mediocre men coaching in the WNBA has always pissed me off, and it is quite the epidemic. Because there are a lot of other things we could point to, and some even have been considered successful if you look at wins, losses, or even championships. But then when we realize some of the other things that have been going down, I ain't gonna name any names today, but for those OGs, we know there's some folks that will not be coming back. They will not be invited back.
Exactly. And it's
won championships, so there you go. All's fair, I guess.
Yep.
I only see us letting go if of the coach if someone like the Fever coaches let go for us to pursue.
I don't think Stephanie White would comfort.
You have to build a squad.
Yeah.
You have to build a squad. And I saw someone, I thought I started, I'll have to look. Oh, yes, I did. Someone has to explain to me how we didn't land Sandy Brondello, who is an Aussie, played and coached players here, and had a ready-made championship-level team. That had me looking like, yes, as it should have. But you know what? Sandy, listen, was not born yesterday. I believe she was born in the summer, but it wasn't yesterday.
She didn't want to.
No,
Simple.
There's no way.
She didn't want to.
There's no way.
The Storm offered her something.
What we believe went down in New York, and how eventually there just were two. The front office wanted something, the coaching staff wanted something, and at times one superseded the other. And if you know how organizational flowcharts work, you can probably figure out which way. Jackie Powell joined us on Gotta Get Up to talk about that. So go listen to that episode. She just left a situation where the front office and the coaching staff were not aligned.
Yeah.
Why would she come to Seattle?
Here's the thing. We know that the Storm offered her a job in Seattle, and she said no. Simple as that. She did not. That's not. There are coaches that they are not for development teams, and what I'm saying, they are not for like rookie teams. I don't know.
Well, I mean, she went to an expansion team, so there's that. But I think how I would say it is Sandy Brondello, especially given what we believe kind of went down in New York, and Jackie Powell again broke this down. I don't think, and honestly, at times Phoenix, but maybe not necessarily a front office thing, more if, I don't know, I've heard things that maybe it was more of like a player coach rift that happened towards the end there. I think Sandy Brondello was fine to go to an expansion team to be in a situation where she could coach the way she knows how to coach. And the last two stops ended, I think, with people questioning Sandy Brondello.
Yes.
And I think to their detriment, because I mean, look at Phoenix now. And to be determined about New York. And I think Sandy Brondello has earned the reputation to coach the way she knows how to coach. Does Sandy
Yeah.
make mistakes? Yes. Excuse me, baby. She's human. She's human. And she owns it. She owns her mistakes. Period. Always
Yeah.
has.
Yeah, but she's a competitive team coach. I think
Yes.
that's and I think that so Stephanie White, Becky Hammond, Sandy Brondello. Guess what? The few female coaches in the league, they are not going to coach. They're not going to go to a team that is just starting a roster, and I don't even mean expansion, because what you saw that Toronto put on a team. They put on a team. The Storm does not have a competitive team, and we know that they're not going to make the playoffs. Those three coaches right now, I think that they're the best coaches in the WNBA at the moment. I think that, and I don't even think it's a take. I don't even think it's a hot take. I think it's just what it is. Crazy enough, the best coaches Sherry Reeve. Those four. I would, for me, Sherry Reeve is the best coach in WNBA history. Point blank. That's for me. So Sherry Reeve, Sandy Brondello, Becky Hammond, Stephanie White. Those are players who are not gonna go to a team that had messy seasons.
Absolutely not, Jeff. You got to get out of here. You got
Oh,
to get out of
oh,
here with that. No, that's uncalled for. That's uncalled for. No, we're not doing that. We're not
no,
doing that.
that's insane.
No,
No,
no, no. That's that. We're not playing that game.
no.
We're absolutely not. Do not do that.
Yeah,
Period. I'm so very serious.
that pissed
That
me
is
off.
not okay. That is not okay. Now, we could joke around about a lot of other things and it's all love, but I'm telling you right now, do not come on Black Rosie Media with that ever again. That's not funny. It's not cute. We're not going to tolerate it. Everyone was having a good time. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, that was just unacceptable. As we are talking about how the best coaches in the WNBA right now are the only female, no, sorry, not the only female coaches. Although the coach of the year last year was a female coach, and then you have Sonia, who is still together. So look at that. The best coaches in general in the WNBA are women. Coach of the year last year was a woman. I mean, she's a woman talking about last year. So something, and you keep bringing, the girl dads who he made it to the final, but look at his team now. You
I
have
mean,
Alyssa Thomas, Kalia Copper on your team, Dewana Bonner, and
I have a lot of questions about Phoenix right now because I think you're right. They have a roster that should be able to compete. And I think that they didn't do much in free agency because I do think they thought Satu was going to stay.
oh, that's true. There's that. Yeah.
Now, but that also kind of sounds like what we've been talking about with
Yeah.
Seattle.
Now, let's, to not, so people don't say that we're all like, oh, you're just hate men. The Atlanta Dream guy, he's good.
Carl Semesco, they were down.
They were
'Cause
down. Yeah.
Valkyries were shooting from the perimeter, which I thought was going to be the equalizer here.
They were down really bad. I think the third quarter is just starting. Jose
Yeah.
Fernandez is starting to get the hang of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that people just got shocked by his approach, and
Yeah.
I won't say that it was always all good with me, but I mean, that's what he said what he said, and his team got it together.
That's true. That is true. I feel like he has kind of he does have the Gino Oriema vibes. Kind of, sort of.
Which also I don't love,
Yeah.
because I know what you mean, and it's just like, oh, there's like a cringe factor there. And it kind of works. I don't know. That's
Especially
that's
knowing who.
really why they took Paige and AZ.
Exactly. Especially knowing who their star player is and their other star. I mean, look at this past game, it was Paige, AZ, and Zaza. They were, so and again, sometimes you do make choices around your player. We saw the Fever do that. They needed a better coach for Caitlin Clark, so they brought Stephanie White. They needed a coach who matched more of Paige Becker's needed style, so they brought Jose Fernandez. So maybe that's what the team needs. And I think that's just like,
Man, listen, if you look on certain parts of the interwebs, every coach has a part of their fan base that probably wants them fired.
yeah.
You know who I think is going to be interesting when it's all said and done, speaking of this game, and yeah, Atlanta's still down, but the third quarter just started. Natalie Nakase, I'm very intrigued, but in the more positive slanting way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And despite now here's the
Uh-oh.
oh man, here we
Are
go.
you gonna
Talk
get
about
yourself
Talisa
taken
again.
off the screen?
No. You're probably gonna give me the whole screen. So there was the whole talk on draft night about how the Golden State Valkyries GM was out of her mind and did this terrible trade, and the Storm was put on a pedestal, right?
Yep.
Where are the Golden State Valkyries today? They are 6th in the league, and they are beating the number 2 in the league. Where's the Seattle Storm today? All the way in the bottom, and everyone.
Yes.
The only decision that was questioned, the only questionable decision that the Valkyries made was that draft trade.
I didn't love it. They
The
got
only-
fleeced, as we say.
Yeah,
Yes.
the only non-questionable decision that Talisa made was the draft night. So
Yeah.
I think
And
that
yeah. And
That
that's
says a lot.
why I was like, I love Ohema, and she helped. She was one of the architects of the New York Liberty. So I was like, listen, I have enough respect. Dang, was that Cece? Good Lord, that was nasty. Zandalis.
Cecilia.
Zandalicini. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for Ohema, and everyone makes mistakes. So I was like, listen, she might have some mastermind moves, or maybe this was just a misstep, but I still believe in what she's doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. I don't necessarily like that, but we got to see how it plays out. And I was like, I'm super hype about Seattle getting Flau'jae, and it's not my first rodeo. I'm
And
in Texas, so
Yeah.
not my first rodeo.
before we
Yeah.
close, just one thing, just more like pop culture kind of thing. There is this huge social media page that's called Pop Base. They have 4.5 million followers, and even more combining with other social medias. And they suddenly started posting about the WNBA. Today, they showed their
Oh dear.
All-Star Game votings,
Oh
their
dear.
votings, and look who made the Puff Base voting.
I love that. Yay, Dominique Malonga.
Yeah, now there are 2 fan bases that are very upset at them because they didn't vote either for Caitlin Clark nor Azzi Fudd. So
I did not put either one of them on my ballot.
you have both sides of the spectrum. Like
I have to double check. I think I will be honest. The last tally I recall for me, because I made one change, I kept going back and forth on one specific thing. I think I deleted the screenshot, and now I'm gonna be mad. But there was one thing that I was going back and forth on. But I do not have, I don't think, any Indiana Fever on my final ballot. I actually submitted it early. I almost never do that. I was like,
Yeah.
submit. Um
Amanda, yeah.
I will say Dominique Malonga was up in the air for me because I tried to consider listen, like All Star's a little tough for me because it's like what you deserve and what you've earned versus what's realistic. There are players that earned an All-Star vote who will not play an All-Star.
Yeah.
Like Brittany Sykes is one of those people for me. Kelsey Plum is one of those people for me, which is why I wish I had waited, because I definitely gave Plum a spot that would have opened something somewhere else. And I don't feel guilty about that. I don't feel bad about it, but I always try to factor that in a little bit, because I do have a media vote. And so for Dom, I will be honest, she was a player that was a little bit on the bubble, and I can't remember what my final tally was. I can't remember.
Did you put Marina?
Mabry, yes, because I thought about between her and Slim, to be honest, I wasn't going to put them both because you have so few front court or back court spots.
Yeah.
That's like torture. And I was like, I can't pick both of them. And I knew Slim is hurt. So,
Oh, but do you know which Storm beat reporter is going to be in the All-Star game?
No.
The both of us.
Oh, I thought you said in. I was like, excuse me.
No,
I was like,
no,
they got
no,
a
no, no,
media
no,
name.
no, no,
I
no,
was
not
like, what?
at the. Sorry, prepositions are still hard for me,
That's
even though I've
okay.
been here for years.
That's okay.
So
Yeah.
we
Well,
will be
okay.
there.
Y'all, don't even get me started. Like, and that's another thing. I wish fans would read the CBA, because what athletes say, and sometimes they're a little snarky about it, so I don't want to say it in the same tone. And the CBA is set up, and especially a couple of years ago, players that got multiple All-Star bids, it makes it easier for them to get contracts overseas. Now, the international market is changing a lot, but there are very real implications when it comes to All-Star. And honestly, some of that might be on how the league sets up All-Star voting, because it should be a fan thing, or it's set up to be a fan thing. But then why attach bonuses, and why attach, like there's some money implications on being an All-Star. And when you have Sophie Cunningham, who maybe in a season or two of her career could have been considered an All-Star, but comparative to other people, I mean, sis was all pointing in someone's face with 2 whole points.
Oh my God, now that's the player that I have to hide my face. Like,
exactly. I was like, I didn't know. Breaking news.
Will be at the All-Star game.
Will be at. I was like, oh, who? I was like, okay, is Percy getting out there? I was like, they were like me. I was like, excuse me, let me start stretching.
No.
We will be at All-Star. Yes, we will be at All-Star. We're excited we're starting some of our prep and planning process, so we will let y'all know. But also, we have a Pride takeover coming up.
Pride. It's Pride weekend in Seattle, the Storm. I am going to rest Friday because I'm going to go hard Saturday and Sunday. So there's the Storm Pride game on Saturday. I'm going to talk to players, and I'm also going to go around talking to some fans, potentially making some funny questions. So if you're there and you see me walking around with a microphone, feel free to reach out. And yeah, and just gonna be posting on Black Rosie Media socials. It's going to be fun. There's a lot happening in Seattle this weekend. So Saturday night, I'm gonna go to the after the game. I'm gonna go to the Queer Pride Festival, and there is going to be so many talented, like RuPaul level drag queens, including Sasha Colby, who was the winner of one of the seasons, and she has now been to two Storm games, and she's
Oh.
super close to Gabby Williams. So
Oh.
I'm very excited for that. It's also going to be Bosco and someone who is not a drag queen, but she's definitely for the gays. Tiffany Pollen, New York.
Ah.
Tiffany New York, she's gonna be there. I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, she's 100%. So there's a very, very good lineup. Bosco is gonna be there. So I'm going on the Saturday night one. Um, Amor and Amor, who I love. It's going to be. I'm so excited. I'm glad that the game's at 6, and I'm not going to be at the arena until 10. So I can just like leave and drop my stuff at home and go to the Capitol Hill area because I live very close to Capitol Hill. I'm gonna have some. We're gonna
Love it. No, that's going to be exciting. I can't wait for your coverage. We had 2 more questions that I thought would be interesting. One I'll get to, Eagle's brother. Okay, and Roberta, you know this, but we had multiple technical difficulties for that conversation, so it's taken a little longer to edit the video portion, but it's funny. We had just had an internal meeting with Alexis, but we want to be able to at least edit a cleaner version of the audio only, and that should happen over the weekend and then continue to work. It's just we're a thin, small but mighty staff here, and there were a lot of technical difficulties, and we did have a pretty beefy conversation,
Yeah.
meaty conversation. So it's just a matter of being able to turn that over in a way that it's not going to be like skirt, skirt, skirt. There was like a lot of tech issues. So, but it's a great conversation, and we did talk about international players and some of the things that we mentioned on the pod. So we will have that.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Can you discuss the no challenge from Sonia and OT on Natisha? That was a flagrant in my opinion. Even if not successful, it could have broken up the momentum for Dallas in the last 45. I do think Sonia is a little more conservative when it comes to the challenges. In OT, my opinion, this is more general, is that in OT, why not? Why not? You give your team some rest. And it's overtime. I mean, now I guess unless you go to double OT, then you want to keep your challenge. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, Roberta, about that one?
I think that it was just maybe that maybe Natisha was herself, having her moment, and it could break her moment because, like it or not, when you challenge, there's a big stop over there, and we're talking about a game that went very long, and Natisha had a pretty big participation. So it could go both ways. It could break. It could pause Dallas moments, but honestly, I think that it would have had a bigger effect on the Seattle Storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. And some of it is a judgment call. Some coaches are a little bit more comfortable with using their challenges just in general than others. But I think you're right. Like the momentum is a factor. Yeah, but I think it's a fair question to ask for sure. And like I've said, I just think generally speaking, Sonia seems to be more conservative. Like Sandy was pretty conservative for a while until like
So Sabrina was like,
Sabrina was like, and she also once, or it was alluded to that Sandy was like, oh, well, if Leo says I should challenge, then I'll believe it. She's like, but some of the rest of y'all, I don't know about that.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a judgment call. It's a tough one. And it's, the coaches don't get to see necessarily what we're seeing, or the head coach doesn't see what we're seeing. They have to rely in a very short period of time on other people. So you've got your player that's like wiggling and of course making their case. You're trying to make eyes with your bench coach or your second row coach that's looking at the video, then you have to make sure you keep eyes on the official, because if you do want to challenge, you have to do it before the inbound, right? So there's like a lot that goes into it that it's kind of easier to judge when you're watching the game than I can only imagine than it feels like for the coaches. Because sometimes coaches challenge things like the Lynn Roberts challenge. I mean, they ended up winning the game, whatever. But when they challenged that out of bounds, I was like, ugh, why would you do that? And it didn't matter because they won the game because the New York Liberty blew their defensive assignment, which they might also do tomorrow. So Seattle, try to get them in a blender. Switch,
Yeah.
switch, switch.
I'm making faces because I looked at the screen and I saw the Atlanta and Golden State game.
Yeah.
Atlanta
They're
is
just shooting
shooting
so well from
29% and 7% from the 3-point line, 67% from free throw. What are they doing?
Oof.
What are they doing? Oh my God.
Oof.
Sorry,
That's
I was just
brutal.
appalled.
That's brutal. Also, Angel's undershirt, is it a one sleeve or did she just roll one of the sleeves? Also, I feel like it's a little bit baggier than she would normally wear articles
yeah,
of
it does.
clothing.
Oh, looks
Right?
like it's
It
just
kind
one
of looks
sleeve.
I think it is one sleeve, but
does
why
look
is it so
weird.
baggy?
Huh.
It's very strange. Anyway,
Odd.
on that note, make sure you tap in. We will have a Pride takeover with Roberta, which will be amazing. We also will be able to update probably in the next couple of shows, after the next couple of shows, I should say, what our plans are for All Star. But if you're going to be at Pride, the Pride celebration, say hi to Roberta. You might find yourself on Black Rosie Media social media or on the next episode if you're comfortable with that. And yeah, wait. If you're going to be in Chicago for All Star, we will be there. So it would be great to meet you. Come say hi. We'd love to meet y'all. Keep it cute though. Learn
Yeah.
from the Rebound King. We
Yeah.
will shut it down, and I have
He's
no
no king
problems.
anymore.
We
He's
will
just the
stand.
chest.
Yes, we will stand up for decency towards women and all humans. Honestly, like we're gonna get off the jokes, but also like let's not go beyond. Okay. Let's not go beyond. Well, we're glad you had fun. Eagle's brother was here. We had so many people. What is it? Abdomus Prime is here. We had someone say they caught their first show. That was really dope. Orthodox Moore, thank you for your comments. Striatic is always coming through. Michelle came through. Of course, Tammy is always here. Phil was a lot of fun. Striatic basically keeping a record of why we will never hold public office in Seattle ever. Thank you for that.
Ariel had some pretty good comments.
Yes, everything was great. Breeze, of course.
I had
Breeze is
to
like,
know
I
who
need
Breeze
to hear.
is.
I need to know. I need to know, Roberta.
Yeah, like I need to put you in an uncomfortable situation. It was funny though. It was funny having those questions. Honestly, I like the tension that you're bringing. I welcome that.
She Heismaned at every turn. All right. Well, we'll have our next show. Check on Black Rosie Media social media. We have the next, I believe it's 2 show. Well, actually, I think one more show that we have in our rundown, and we will do that. We'll keep updating that. So we have the graphics, so you know when the next show is. If we had to change, like this week, we were on Wednesday, not Thursday. But thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate y'all. And remember, if you have children of your own or you are a caregiver to children, things take time and patience. Get a group chat like we have. This is the adult group chat because the Seattle Storm are our babies. And sometimes you need to pour it out.
Or we're babysitting. We're
babysitting, exactly. Sometimes you just need to pour it out. And if that's the case, come over to TEMPESTADE Talk, your local eye on the Seattle Storm. For Roberta Rodriguez, I'm Erica L. Ayala. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.